My mom and brother falsely accused me of assault, and their online hate campaign forced me into hiding. Now my mom is begging the court for visitation rights to see him in juvie. I was 7, and my older brother Nathan was 9 when the incident happened. He had poured rocks into a teacher's gas tank every day for a week straight, not knowing it was wrong. It wasn't until someone caught him doing it that my mom got the phone call from the principal. At that moment, she had 2 options. 1, to tell them it really was Nathan, or 2, tell them it was all me. We look extremely alike. She told them it was me, because to my mom, she needed at least one angel child to brag about. And because I was naturally more mischievous than Nathan, she picked him to fill the role. I ended up getting suspended, and every teacher in the school would pick on me. It was then that Nathan realized he could get away with literally anything, and acted like it too. When I was 11, Nathan stole $20 from my mom's wallet. My mom didn't even ask if it was me, just sold my gaming console as punishment. But Nathan's antics only got worse from there. I was 14 when I got my first girlfriend. Nathan was 16, and also had a girlfriend. So one day, when my girlfriend saw the back of Nathan's head kissing another girl, she recorded it and sent it to almost every group chat in the school. His phone was flooded with hate texts, anonymous threats. But instead of owning up and taking a beating, he told everyone it was me. And because everyone in high school were drama fiends, everyone automatically believed him, including my mother. And since our family is very anti-cheating, practically all of my relatives stopped talking to me. I stopped trying to have a social life after that. I figured if I just kept my head down until I moved out for college, everything would be okay. But, as you can probably guess, my plan failed. Because when I was in 11th grade, a rumor about Nathan was going around the school. Apparently, he had R-worded a girl at some party, who woke up in bed beside him with no recollection of what had happened. I had no idea if it was true or not, but the more I listened to everyone's stories, the more things were adding up. I began to hatch a plan to make him confess, but my plans were interrupted, because a week after the rumors were born, people were threatening to beat me up after school. Eggs were thrown at me as I walked home. It wasn't until one guy threw a punch during lunchtime that I realized what was going on. Nathan had somehow convinced everyone it was me. I went home early that day, not knowing what the F to do. I remember living with so much fear, I didn't even want to leave the house. But when the weekend came, things took a dark turn. I got a notification that I was tagged in a post on Instagram. But when I clicked it, my heart dropped. The account was anonymous, but was followed by nearly everyone in school. The caption was my home address, phone number, email, all followed by an in-depth description of who I had violated, and just how I had done it. I almost threw up with stress. My hands and feet were ice cold. I tried to scroll through my WhatsApp to see if there was anyone I could reach out to, but there was only one. The only person who didn't blame me for Nathan cheating on his girlfriend. My dad. I hadn't spoken to him in almost 10 years, but when I called, the first thing he asked was if I wanted to come over, and he'd pay for the Uber. I breathed a sigh of relief, and left immediately. On the way there, I passed by 4 Toyota Corollas filled with angry 18-year-olds, all heading towards my house. Luckily, they didn't see me, and I knew I would be staying at my dad's for a while. When I got there, he didn't even ask why I had reached out. He just gave me a big hug and played Polar Express on the TV, my favorite Christmas movie from when I was 5. But the second Tom Hanks started narrating, I burst into tears. Tears soon turned into hyperventilation, and within 2 minutes, I was having a full-blown anxiety attack. I couldn't even speak, and just showed him the Instagram post. "Son, I know you wouldn't do that," he said. It was the first time someone had seen the good in me. I immediately calmed down, and he continued speaking. Apparently, my mom had always treated Nathan a lot better, and my dad always tried to stand up for me. But things quickly escalated, and whenever my dad would defend me, my mom would get violent, which was the reason for their divorce. I told him my mom said he used to hit her, which is why I never reached out. He just nodded, but the look in his eyes told me he understood and forgave me. It was the most love I had been shown in my life, so I started crying again. My dad assured me not to worry because he would handle everything, and I was in safe hands. I smiled, because back then, I didn't understand the weight of his words. I didn't know just how seriously he had meant them. He protected me so well that I didn't find out what he had done to Nathan and my mom until it was too late to be undone. I spent that first night at my dad's place just sleeping, like a real deep sleep I hadn't had in years. When I woke up Sunday morning, I had 37 missed calls and over 100 texts. Most were from guys at school threatening me. A few were from my mom demanding to know where I was. I turned my phone off and walked to the kitchen. My dad was making pancakes like it was a totally normal Sunday. He asked if I wanted chocolate chips in mine, and I almost started crying again. I couldn't remember the last time someone had cooked breakfast specifically for me. "We should probably talk about what's going on," he said, while I stuffed my face with pancakes. "But only when you're ready." I told him everything, not just about the recent stuff with Megan, but all of it. Every time Nathan had blamed me for something, every punishment I'd taken for him, every friend I'd lost. My dad just listened, occasionally asking questions, but never doubting me. When I finished, he looked really sad. "I knew your mother favored him, but I had no idea it had gotten this bad," he said. He explained that after the divorce, he'd tried to get custody of both of us, but my mom had convinced the judge he was dangerous. She had even coached Nathan to say Dad had yelled at us a lot. I was too young to testify, so I just went where my mom took me. "What do we do now?" I asked. "I can't go back to school. Everyone thinks I'm some kind of monster." My dad thought for a minute. "First, we need proof it wasn't you. Then we deal with Nathan." I wasn't sure what he meant by deal with Nathan, but honestly, I was just relieved someone was helping me. We spent Sunday figuring out where where I'd been the night of Jake's party. I remembered I'd ordered pizza, so we found the receipt in my email. It was delivered at 9:30 p.m., right when people said the incident with Megan happened. I also had achievement timestamps from my PlayStation, showing I was playing Skyrim until 2 a.m. Monday morning, my dad called the school and told them I wouldn't be coming in for a while due to safety concerns. The attendance lady didn't seem surprised. Apparently, several parents had already called demanding the school do something about that Williams boy, meaning me. My dad took the day off work and helped me create a private Instagram account. We collected all my evidence, the pizza receipt, game timestamps, screenshots of texts I'd sent that night, and posted it all with a simple message. I wasn't at Jake's party. I was home playing video games. Whoever hurt Megan, it wasn't me. I sent the link to the 5 people from school who hadn't completely turned against me. They weren't really friends, just people from computer club who were neutral in all the drama. I asked them to share it if they believed me. By that afternoon, I had messages from 2 of them saying the post was spreading. A few people were starting to question the story. It wasn't much, but it was something. Tuesday, my dad went back to work, and I stayed in his apartment all day, alternating between anxiety and boredom. Around lunchtime, I got a text from Megan herself. My heart practically stopped when I saw her name. She said she'd seen my post and had been thinking about that night. She admitted she never actually saw the face of the person who took her to the bedroom. She just remembered someone with my build and hair color. She also said she wasn't 100% sure anything had happened. She just woke up confused and missing her shirt. I asked if she remembered anything else about the person, any detail that might prove it was Nathan, not me. She said the guy was wearing a class ring, which caught her attention because it had a blue stone. Nathan had a class ring with a blue stone for football. I didn't have a class ring at all. I couldn't afford one. I thanked her for reaching out and asked if she'd be willing to tell people she wasn't sure it was me. She said she'd think about it. It wasn't a perfect outcome, but at least she was questioning things. Wednesday morning, my mom showed up at my dad's apartment. I was alone since he'd gone to work. I heard her pounding on the door and looked through the peephole. She was fuming. "I know you're in there," she yelled through the door. "The school called me about your safety concerns. Open this door right now." I did not open that door. Instead, I texted my dad, who said he'd be home in 20 minutes and to just stay quiet. My mom kept knocking for a while, then started calling my phone. I turned the volume off but could see her getting more frustrated through the peephole. Finally, she left a note under the door saying I was breaking her heart by staying with my manipulative father and that she'd forgiven me for the Megan situation if I came home now. I took a picture of the note to show my dad later. By Friday, things had shifted a bit at school, according to my computer club acquaintances. Megan had apparently told some friends she wasn't sure what happened that night, which created doubt about my guilt. But Nathan had doubled down, telling everyone he'd seen me at the party, which was literally impossible. The weekend passed quietly. My dad and I watched movies, ordered takeout, and played cards. It was the most peaceful 2 days I'd had in years. Sunday night, though, I got a text from Jake, the guy whose house the party was at. He asked if we could meet somewhere private to talk. I showed my dad, who thought it might be a trap. "Let's invite him here," Dad suggested. "I'll stay in my room so you two can talk, but I'll be close if anything goes wrong." Jake came over Monday after school. He looked nervous, glancing around the apartment like he expected to be ambushed. We sat at the kitchen table, and he fidgeted with his car keys the whole time. "Look, I need to tell you something, but you have to promise not to tell anyone it came from me," he said. I just nodded. "I have a security camera in my living room. My parents put it in after the last time they went out of town and I had people over. Anyway, I checked the footage from the night of the party." Jake pulled out his phone and showed me a video. The quality wasn't great, but you could clearly see Nathan helping a stumbling Megan up the stairs. The timestamp showed 9:37 p.m., exactly when I was at home ordering pizza. "Why didn't you show this to anyone before?" I asked. Jake looked guilty. "Nathan's my friend, and honestly, everyone was so sure it was you. Plus, I'm not supposed to have parties when my parents are gone. If this got out, I'd be screwed." I asked if I could have a copy of the video. He hesitated but eventually airdropped it to me. Before he left, he made me promise again not to say where I got it. I agreed, even though I thought he was being a coward. As soon as Jake was gone, my dad and I watched the video again. It was definitive proof that Nathan was the one with Megan that night, not me. "This changes everything," my dad said. "We need to be strategic about how we use this." The next day, Dad took me to the police station. I was super nervous about it, but he said we needed to file a report about the online harassment and threats. The officer who took our statement didn't seem very interested until we mentioned the false assault allegations. That got her attention. We showed her the Instagram post with my address and the threatening messages I'd received. We also showed her my alibi evidence and the video from Jake's house, though we said it came from an anonymous source to protect Jake. The officer, Detective Palmer, took it all seriously. She said the online post with my personal information was definitely illegal, and the false allegations could be considered defamation. She asked if I wanted to press charges against whoever made the post. I didn't know what to say. The account was anonymous, and while I was pretty sure Nathan was behind it, I couldn't prove that part. My dad jumped in and said we mainly wanted the threats to stop so I could return to school safely. Detective Palmer said she'd look into it and would contact the school about the situation. Before we left, she also suggested I consider getting a restraining order against the people who had threatened me most seriously. That night, my dad and I talked about next steps. He suggested I could transfer to a different school to get a fresh start. The idea was tempting, but it also felt like letting Nathan win again. "I want to clear my name," I said. I'm tired of taking the blame for his crap. My dad nodded like he'd expected that answer. Then we need to be smart about this. If we just post that video publicly, it could backfire. Nathan would claim it's doctored or find some other excuse. We decided to send the video to Megan first. She deserved to know the truth, and maybe she could help spread it. I messaged her asking if we could talk, and she agreed to meet at a coffee shop near my dad's place the next day. Seeing Megan in person was awkward. She looked uncomfortable, keeping her distance and choosing a table in the most public part of the cafe. I thanked her for meeting me and got right to the point. I have proof I wasn't at the party, I said, sliding my phone across the table with the video paused. She hesitated before taking it. I watched her face as she played the video. Her eyes widened, and she covered her mouth with her hand. That's your brother, she said quietly. I remember that hoodie. I nodded. I was home ordering pizza and playing video games. I have receipts and timestamps to prove it. Megan looked like she might cry. I'm so sorry. Everyone was so convinced it was you. Even Nathan said, Nathan lies, I said simply. He's been doing this our whole lives, blaming me for his mistakes. I've just never had proof before. She asked for a copy of the video, which I sent to her phone. Before she left, she promised to tell people the truth. I wasn't sure if that would be enough, but it was a start. The next day, everything exploded. Megan had posted the video on her Instagram with a long caption explaining that she'd been wrong, that it was Nathan in the video, not me. She apologized publicly for believing the rumors without evidence. My phone blew up with messages, some people apologizing, others accusing me of manipulating Megan or doctoring the video. Nathan texted me too. You're dead when I find you. I showed my dad the threat, and he immediately called Detective Palmer. She said she'd handle it and recommended I stay away from school another day. That evening, my mom showed up at my dad's place again, this time with Nathan. They pounded on the door, yelling about the lies I was spreading. My dad called the building security, who made them leave, but not before Nathan shouted that he'd make me pay for ruining his reputation. The next morning, Detective Palmer called with news. The school had suspended Nathan pending an investigation, and they were reviewing the incident with Megan with potential disciplinary action. Additionally, they'd identified the person who created the anonymous Instagram account, not Nathan, surprisingly, but his friend Tyler, who admitted Nathan had put him up to it. The school wants to meet with you, your parents, and their counselor before you return, Detective Palmer explained. They're concerned about your safety and want to put some protections in place. My dad agreed to the meeting, but insisted my mom not be present. The detective hesitated but said she'd see what she could do. The meeting was scheduled for the following Monday. The weekend was stressful. Nathan kept creating new accounts to send me threatening messages, and my mom alternated between pleading for me to come home and accusing me of trying to destroy her beautiful family. My dad stayed calm through all of it, helping me block accounts and documenting everything for Detective Palmer. Sunday night, he ordered my favorite pizza, and we watched stupid comedies until I fell asleep on the couch. Monday morning, we went to the school. The principal, Mr. Reynolds, met us in the conference room along with the school counselor, Ms. Chen, and Detective Palmer. My mom wasn't there, which was a huge relief. First, I want to apologize, Mr. Reynolds said. We should have investigated more thoroughly before allowing this situation to escalate. We failed you. Ms. Chen explained that they had spoken with several students who confirmed Nathan had been telling people it was me at the party. They had also reviewed the evidence I'd provided proving my alibi. We believe you were falsely accused, she said. We're prepared to make accommodations to ensure your safety when you return. The accommodations included changing my schedule to avoid classes with Nathan, providing a private space for lunch if needed, and having teachers check in regularly. They also said Nathan would remain suspended until the disciplinary board made a final decision. I asked what would happen to the guys who had threatened me. Mr. Reynolds assured me they were also facing consequences, though he couldn't give specifics due to privacy policies. Before we left, Detective Palmer pulled us aside. Tyler has agreed to cooperate fully. He's provided texts from Nathan instructing him what to post about you. This strengthens your case significantly. I felt a strange mix of vindication and dread. It was good to have proof, but I knew this wouldn't be the end of it. Nathan wouldn't just accept defeat and leave me alone. I was right. That night, Nathan showed up at my dad's apartment alone. He wasn't yelling this time. He asked calmly if we could talk. My dad was hesitant, but agreed to let him in after checking that he was actually alone. Nathan sat on our couch looking like he'd aged 10 years. His eyes were red, and he kept rubbing his hands together nervously. They're expelling me, he said quietly, and Megan's parents are pressing charges. I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt bad for him, but a bigger part remembered all the years of taking blame for his actions. Why did you do it? I finally asked. Not just the thing with Megan, but all of it. Making me take the fall every time. Ruining my life whenever you messed up. Nathan stared at the floor. I don't know. It was just so easy. Mom always believed me, and after a while it just became like automatic. I'd screw up and immediately think, I'll just say it was him. My dad stayed quiet, just watching us from the kitchen doorway. Did you ever feel bad about it? I pressed. Nathan shrugged. Sometimes, I guess. But then Mom would praise me for being her good boy, and I'd forget about it. Something about his casual attitude made my blood boil. Years of my life ruined, and he, sometimes, felt bad? I need your help, Nathan said, finally looking at me. If you tell everyone you forgive me, maybe they'll go easier on me. You're my brother. You have to help me. I almost laughed. After everything, he was still trying to manipulate me. No, I said, I don't have to help you. You didn't help me when everyone thought I was a predator. You encouraged it. Nathan's face changed then. The vulnerability vanished, replaced by the same cold look I'd seen that night after the incident when we were kids. You'll regret this, he said, standing up. You think you've won? This isn't over. My dad stepped forward. Yes, it is over, Nathan. You've done enough damage. If you threaten your brother again, there will be consequences. Nathan sneered at him. You weren't there for 10 years. Don't act like you're father of the year now. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. My dad locked it and put a hand on my shoulder. You okay? He asked. I nodded, though I wasn't really. Nathan's visit had shaken me more than I wanted to admit. The next few days were tense. I didn't return to school yet, working on assignments from home while the administration finalized their safety plan. My mom called constantly, leaving voicemails alternating between begging me to help Nathan and accusing me of destroying our family out of spite. Friday afternoon, my dad came home early with a serious look on his face. Detective Palmer called me, he said. Nathan's been arrested. My stomach dropped. For what? Breaking into Jake's house and assaulting him. Apparently he blamed Jake for providing the video that got him in trouble. I sat down hard on the couch. Is Jake okay? Hospital, but stable. Broken nose, concussion. Nathan's being charged with breaking and entering an assault. I felt sick. This had all spiraled so far out of control. Part of me still cared about Nathan, despite everything. He was my brother, and something was clearly very wrong with him. What happens now? I asked. My dad sat beside me. Nathan will likely face juvenile detention. Your mom called me. She's beside herself, blaming everyone but Nathan. She wants you to come home. I'm not going back there, I said immediately. I know, and legally, you don't have to. You're 17. The courts typically consider the preference of children your age in custody matters. He paused. I'm going to file for emergency custody tomorrow. With everything that's happened, I think we have a strong case. For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe things could actually get better. Saturday morning, we got another surprise visit, this time from my Uncle Robert, my mom's brother. Unlike the rest of my extended family, Uncle Robert had always been kind to me, though he'd backed off after the cheating scandal with Amber. Can I come in? He asked when my dad opened the door. I want to talk to both of you. We sat at the kitchen table while Uncle Robert explained that he'd been following everything that happened. He'd seen Megan's post, heard about Nathan's arrest, and finally connected all the dots. I owe you an apology, he said to me. I should have realized something wasn't right. Nathan always had an explanation for everything, and your mom was so convincing. He trailed off, looking genuinely remorseful. Then he surprised me again. I'm here because I want to help, he said. Your mom is refusing to acknowledge any of this is real. She's telling everyone Nathan is being framed and that you've manipulated the whole situation. My heart sank. Of course she was. I've spoken to Grandma and the rest of the family, Uncle Robert continued. I showed them the evidence, the video, the Instagram posts, everything. They're starting to understand the truth. I hadn't expected that. I'd assumed my entire extended family was a lost cause. What does this mean? My dad asked. Uncle Robert sighed. Your mom needs help. Professional help. I've tried talking to her, but she refuses to listen. I think she might have some mental health issues that have gone untreated for a long time. That made sense, though I'd never thought about it that way before. My mom's behavior had always seemed irrational, but I just accepted it as normal because it was all I knew. I want to testify at your custody hearing, Uncle Robert said. I want to tell the judge what I've observed over the years, if that's okay with both of you. My dad looked surprised but nodded. That would be incredibly helpful. Before Uncle Robert left, he gave me a hug and apologized again. He promised the family would make it up to me. I wasn't sure what that meant, but it felt good knowing not everyone had abandoned me. Sunday night, I got a text from Amber, my ex-girlfriend from freshman year. She said she'd seen Megan's post and realized she might have misjudged me too. She apologized for not giving me a chance to explain back then. I appreciated her message, but told her it was too little, too late. Maybe that was petty, but after everything I'd been through, I felt entitled to a little pettiness. Monday morning, my dad and I went to the courthouse for the emergency custody hearing. I was nervous, bouncing my leg the entire drive there. My mom would be there, and I hadn't seen her since she'd shown up at our door with Nathan. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. My mom was already there with her attorney. She tried to approach me when we walked in, but the bailiff stopped her. She looked terrible, hair unwashed, dark circles under her eyes. Despite everything, I felt a twinge of concern. The hearing was surprisingly quick. My dad's lawyer presented the evidence, the false accusations, the documented pattern of my mom favoring Nathan, the recent arrest, and the threatening messages I'd received. Uncle Robert testified, describing how my mom had always pushed the Nathan is perfect narrative and punished me for things I hadn't done. The judge asked me directly if I wanted to live with my dad. I said yes, without hesitation. She then asked if I wanted any contact with my mom. That was harder to answer. Maybe eventually, I said, but not right now. I need some space. The judge nodded like she understood. She granted my dad temporary full custody, with the possibility of revisiting visitation with my mom after 3 months of family counseling. As we were leaving, my mom tried to talk to me again. The bailiff let her approach this time. This isn't over, she said, echoing Nathan's words from earlier. You've turned everyone against me. My own family, my own son. My dad started to intervene, but I held up my hand to stop him. No, Mom, you did this yourself. You chose Nathan over me again and again. You let him hurt me. You helped him hurt me. I felt tears forming but pushed them back. I hope you get help. I really do. but I can't be around you right now. I walked away before she could respond. In the parking lot, my dad put his arm around my shoulders. I'm proud of you, he said simply. That afternoon, we met with Ms. Chen at school to finalize my return. With Nathan in juvenile detention and a restraining order in place, the immediate safety concerns were addressed. They'd also spoken to my teachers about the situation, so I wouldn't have to explain myself repeatedly. We can't control what other students say, Ms. Chen warned, but we've made it clear that harassment of any kind won't be tolerated. My first day back was Wednesday. It was weird and awkward, but not as bad as I feared. People stared and whispered, but no one approached me directly. A few people from computer club sat with me at lunch, acting like nothing had happened. I appreciated their silent support more than they knew. By Friday, things were starting to feel almost normal. Some teachers even went out of their way to be nice to me, which was a new experience. After school, Jake was waiting by my locker. His face was still bruised from Nathan's attack, with a bandage across his nose. Hey, he said awkwardly. I just wanted to say sorry for not coming forward sooner. I was scared of losing friends, which is pretty pathetic compared to what you went through. I told him it was okay. He'd eventually done the right thing, which was more than most people. Also, he added, there's going to be a party at my house next weekend. A proper one this time, my parents approved. You should come. I was surprised by the invitation. I'll think about it, I said, though I wasn't sure I was ready for parties yet. That night, I told my dad about Jake's invitation. He seemed pleased. It's good to have options, he said. You don't have to go if you're not comfortable, but it's nice to be included. I nodded, feeling strangely emotional. It's weird. For so long, I was just trying to survive until I could escape to college. Now I'm thinking maybe high school doesn't have to be completely awful for the next year and a half. My dad smiled. It doesn't, and whatever happens, we'll handle it together. I believed him. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a real future, one that wasn't defined by Nathan's lies or my mom's favoritism. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Nathan would eventually get out of juvenile detention. My mom would probably keep trying to contact me, but I wasn't alone anymore. I had my dad, Uncle Robert, maybe even some friends eventually. I went to bed that night feeling something unfamiliar. Hope. Not just for escape, but for actual happiness. I didn't know exactly what my dad had planned for Nathan and my mom long term, but whatever it was, I trusted him to protect me. After all, he was the only one who ever had. The custody hearing was over, but I still felt on edge every time my phone buzzed. Part of me expected to see Nathan's name pop up with new threats, even though he was in juvie and technically couldn't contact me. My dad noticed me jumping at notifications and suggested I change my ringtone to something less startling. Maybe something from that game you're always playing, he said one night while cooking dinner. It was a small thing, but it showed he was paying attention. I switched to the Skyrim level up sound, which made me smile whenever I heard it. A couple weeks after returning to school, things started to feel almost normal. Some kids still whispered when I walked by, but most had moved on to fresher drama. I even made a few actual friends in computer club, not just acquaintances who tolerated me, but people who invited me to join their Discord server and asked for my opinion on stuff. Jake kept checking in with me too. His face was healing up, and he'd become weirdly protective. When some senior made a comment about me in the cafeteria, Jake immediately shut him down. I didn't need protecting, but it was nice knowing someone had my back. One Friday after school, Uncle Robert called and asked if I wanted to come over for dinner that weekend. Grandma will be there, he added. She's been asking about you. I hadn't seen my grandma since before the whole mess started. The idea made me nervous, but my dad encouraged me to go. Family connections are important, he said. The ones worth keeping anyway. Uncle Robert picked me up Saturday evening. The car ride was a bit awkward at first, but he filled the silence by updating me on random family news. My cousin getting into college, my other uncle buying a boat, normal stuff that had nothing to do with Nathan or my mom. When we got to his house, Grandma was already there, sitting in her usual armchair. She stood up when she saw me, her eyes watery. There's my boy, she said, opening her arms. I hesitated for a second before hugging her. She felt smaller than I remembered, more fragile. I'm sorry, she whispered against my shoulder. I should have known better. That simple apology hit me harder than I expected. I had to blink back tears as we sat down for dinner. Through the meal, no one mentioned Nathan or my mom directly, but Grandma did ask how things were going with my dad. Really good, I told her. He's teaching me to drive on weekends. She nodded approvingly. Your grandfather taught me to drive, you know. Said I was a natural. After dinner, Uncle Robert pulled me aside. Your mom's been calling everyone in the family, he said quietly. She's trying to get people on her side for the permanent custody hearing. My stomach clenched. Is it working? He shook his head. Not like she hopes. Most people have seen the evidence, and Nathan's arrest was the final straw for many of us. Before I left, Grandma pressed something into my hand, a small key on a chain. This is for your grandfather's tackle box, she explained. He always meant for you to have his fishing gear when you were old enough. I think it's time. I knew what the gesture meant. In our family, Grandpa's fishing gear was practically sacred. It was her way of saying I was still part of the family, the real family, not whatever twisted version my mom had created. The next court date was set for 3 months out. My dad and I both started seeing therapists, him individually, and me with both individual and group sessions for teens dealing with family issues. I was resistant at first, but my therapist, Dr. Melissa, was surprisingly cool. She didn't make me talk about my feelings right away, just let me rant about video games until I felt comfortable. Your brother's actions reflect his issues, not your worth. she told me during one session, and your mother's inability to see the truth isn't your responsibility to fix. It sounded simple when she said it, but actually believing it was harder. 17 years of being the family scapegoat doesn't disappear overnight. Meanwhile, my dad was handling the legal stuff with his attorney. They were pushing for permanent full custody with supervised visitation for my mom, contingent on her completing therapy. I wasn't sure how I felt about seeing her at all, but Dr. Melissa said I didn't need to decide right away. April rolled around, and we got news that Nathan was being released early from juvenile detention for good behavior. My dad immediately called our attorney, who assured us the restraining order was still in effect. Nathan couldn't come within 500 feet of me or contact me in any way. What if he just shows up at school? I asked, panic rising in my chest. He won't be returning to your school, my dad explained. Part of his release conditions include attending a different school and continuing mandatory counseling. I wasn't fully convinced. Nathan had never been good at following rules. The night before his release, I barely slept, imagining him showing up at my dad's apartment or waiting for me after school. But days passed with no sign of him. According to Uncle Robert, Nathan was living with my mom again, but keeping a low profile. The rumors at school said his college prospects were basically ruined, which I couldn't bring myself to feel bad about. He'd nearly ruined my entire life. In May, just when I was starting to relax, I got called to the principal's office during third period. My heart started racing immediately. Had something happened? Was Nathan at the school? When I walked in, Mr. Reynolds was sitting with a police officer I didn't recognize. My mouth went dry. Don't worry, you're not in trouble, Mr. Reynolds said quickly. Officer Garcia just has some questions about a statement your mother made. The officer explained that my mom had filed a report claiming my dad was abusive and that I was in danger living with him. My jaw literally dropped. After everything, she was still trying to lie about my dad. She provided some photos of bruises she claims were caused by your father during visitations, Officer Garcia said, watching my face carefully. That's impossible, I said immediately. I haven't had any visitation with my mom since the temporary custody order. I haven't even seen her. I pulled out my phone and showed him my calendar, where I'd been logging therapy appointments and activities with my dad, a suggestion from Dr. Melissa to help establish a sense of stability. The officer nodded, taking notes. Your mother also claims your father coached you to lie about your brother, he added. I didn't even try to hide my frustration. Officer, my brother confessed to multiple people that he blamed me for things he did. It's all documented, and he literally got arrested for assaulting someone who provided evidence supporting me. After answering more questions, the officer seemed satisfied. Before leaving, he told me they had to investigate all claims, but my statement would be noted. Mr. Reynolds apologized for the disruption and wrote me a pass back to class. I called my dad immediately after school. He wasn't surprised. His attorney had already been contacted about the allegations. It's a desperate move, he said calmly. She knows the permanent custody hearing is coming up, and she's running out of options. I started having nightmares again after that. Dreams where I was back in my old house, with Nathan smirking at me from the doorway of my room. Dr. Melissa suggested I write down the dreams to take away their power, which sounded dumb, but actually helped a little. A week before the custody hearing, I got an unexpected email from Megan. We hadn't really talked since she'd posted the video clearing my name. The subject line was simple: thought you should know. Megan explained that Nathan had reached out to her, supposedly to apologize. But during their conversation, he'd tried to convince her that I had manipulated the video evidence and turned everyone against him out of jealousy. I just wanted you to be aware, she wrote. I didn't believe him, obviously, but I thought you should know he's still trying to blame you. I forwarded the email to my dad and our attorney. They added it to the growing file of evidence showing the pattern of behavior from both Nathan and my mom. The day of the hearing arrived with a knot in my stomach that wouldn't go away. My dad made pancakes again, trying to establish it as our good luck ritual. I appreciated the effort but could barely eat. The courthouse felt more familiar this time, though no less intimidating. My mom was already there with her attorney and, surprisingly, Nathan. He wasn't supposed to testify since he was still a minor with a recent criminal record, but I guess they thought his presence might influence the judge somehow. Nathan didn't look at me when we entered. He stared straight ahead, hands folded in his lap. My mom, on the other hand, kept trying to catch my eye, giving me these pleading looks that made my skin crawl. The hearing started with my dad's attorney presenting the evidence we'd gathered since the temporary order, including my consistent attendance at therapy, improved school performance, and stable home environment. Then came the bombshell. She introduced Megan's email and 3 similar messages from other students, all showing Nathan's continued attempts to blame me. When my mom's attorney cross-examined my dad, he tried to paint him as an opportunist who had swooped in after years of absence. My dad stayed calm, explaining that he'd sent birthday cards, Christmas gifts, and child support consistently for 10 years, despite being blocked from seeing me. I never stopped trying to be part of my son's life, he said. I just wasn't allowed to be. They called me to testify next. I'd practiced with Dr. Melissa, but my hands still shook as I took the oath. The judge, a different one from the emergency hearing, asked me to describe my current living situation and how I was adjusting. It's good, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. I have my own room, I'm doing better in school, and I'm making friends again. My dad and I cook dinner together most nights, and he's teaching me practical stuff like changing oil in a car. My mom's attorney tried to get me to admit I missed my family, that I was just angry and would get over it eventually. I took a deep breath before answering. I do miss parts of my old life, I admitted, but I don't miss being blamed for things I didn't do. I don't miss being punished for Nathan's mistakes, and I don't miss my mom choosing him over me every single time. I saw my mom flinch from the corner of my eye, but I kept going. My dad believes me when I tell him the truth. He doesn't assume I'm lying. Do you know how huge that is after living your whole life with people assuming the worst about you? The judge asked if I wanted any contact with my mother or brother. Maybe someday with my mom, if she gets help and actually acknowledges what happened, I said. But not with Nathan, not after everything. As I stepped down, Nathan finally looked at me. His expression wasn't angry anymore, just empty. It was somehow worse than the hatred. The judge called a brief recess before making her decision. My dad and I waited in a small conference room, neither of us talking much. Our attorney seemed optimistic, but I'd learned not to count on things working out. When we returned to the courtroom, the judge didn't waste time. She granted my dad permanent physical and legal custody. My mom would be allowed supervised visitation after completing 6 months of therapy, with progress reports submitted to the court. The evidence clearly shows a pattern of parental alienation and scapegoating, the judge said. This court cannot in good conscience return the minor to an environment where such psychological harm was inflicted. My mom started crying loudly, clutching Nathan's arm. He just sat there, staring straight ahead like before. I felt nothing watching them. Not satisfaction, not pity, not even relief yet, just numbness. Outside the courthouse, Uncle Robert was waiting. He hugged me awkwardly, then shook my dad's hand. The family's behind you, he told me. Whatever you need. That night, my dad ordered pizza, and we watched all 3 Back to the Future movies, something we'd been meaning to do for weeks. Halfway through the second one, the reality finally hit me. This was permanent. I was safe. My dad wasn't going to disappear, and I wouldn't have to go back to being Nathan's scapegoat. I started crying out of nowhere. My dad paused the movie immediately, looking concerned. I'm okay, I managed to say. I keep waiting for something to go wrong. He nodded like he understood completely. It's going to take time to trust that you're really safe. That's normal. The next few months were uneventful, which was exactly what I needed. Nathan apparently got accepted to some small college across the country. Uncle Robert told me his grades had always been decent enough, and my mom had hired some kind of consultant to help with applications. I tried not to think about him starting fresh somewhere where no one knew what he'd done. My mom completed her court-ordered therapy and requested a visitation. I wasn't ready, and my dad supported my decision to wait. Healing happens on your timeline, not hers, he said. By the time senior year started, my life had transformed. I had actual friends. Teachers knew me as my own person, not as Nathan's troubled brother. I even started dating a girl from computer club named Riley, who couldn't care less about my family drama. One October afternoon, I came home from school to find my dad sitting at the kitchen table with a serious expression. Your mom called, he said. Nathan's been expelled from college. Apparently he tried the same routine there, blamed his roommate for stealing from the cafeteria. Only this time, there were security cameras. I sat down slowly. What does she want? For you to talk to him. She thinks you could help him understand the consequences of his actions. I actually laughed out loud. She wants me to teach Nathan about consequences? After she spent years making sure he never faced any? My dad just shrugged. I told her it wasn't your responsibility. I just thought you should know. I thought about it that night while working on college applications. My top choice was a school in California, about as far from our hometown as I could get while staying in the country. I wondered if Nathan felt any remorse, or if he was still convinced he was the victim somehow. The next day, I asked Dr. Melissa what I should do. We'd cut back to monthly sessions, but I still valued her perspective. Do what feels right for you, she said. Not what your mother wants, not what anyone else expects. What do you need? I thought about it for a week before making my decision. I wrote Nathan a letter, not offering forgiveness or help, just explaining exactly how his actions had affected me throughout my life. I didn't send it expecting a response. I wrote it for me, to release the last bits of anger I was holding on to. Nathan never replied, which didn't surprise me. My mom reached out to ask if I'd reconsider meeting with them. I declined politely, but firmly. The rest of senior year flew by. I got accepted to my top choice college with a partial scholarship. Riley got into a school about an hour away from mine, and we made tentative plans to visit each other. My dad started teaching me about budgeting and other adult stuff I'd need to know. Graduation day arrived with beautiful weather and a weird mix of emotions. My dad, Uncle Robert, Grandma, and a couple other relatives came to watch me walk across the stage. As I sat waiting for my name to be called, I spotted my mom slipping into the back of the auditorium. She didn't try to approach me afterward, just gave a small wave from a distance before leaving. That summer was the best of my life. I worked at a local computer repair shop, spent weekends fishing with my dad using Grandpa's old gear, and actually felt excited about the future. The nightmares stopped completely. A week before I left for college, Jake threw a going-away party for everyone heading out of town. It wasn't anything wild, just pizza, video games, and people signing yearbooks they forgot to sign before summer. As I was saying my goodbyes, Jake pulled me aside. You know, when all that stuff happened last year, I never thought we'd end up actual friends. Me neither, I admitted. I was just trying to survive high school. He laughed. Well, you did more than survive. You basically conquered it. Driving to California with my dad, I watched our hometown disappear in the side mirror. I didn't feel sad leaving it behind. My dad and I had already planned his visits for Parents' Weekend and Thanksgiving, setting up my dorm room, meeting my roommate, buying textbooks. It all felt surreal. No one here knew about Nathan or my mom or any of my history. I was just another freshman finding my way. My dad helped me unpack everything, then took me grocery shopping to stock my mini fridge. Before heading back to his hotel, he handed me a small wrapped package. A going-away present, he explained. Inside was a framed photo of us from my graduation, both smiling like idiots in the sunny backyard. In the corner, he'd written, "The first of many proud moments to come." I didn't know what would happen with my mom or Nathan in the future. Maybe someday, I'd be ready to have them in my life again, or maybe not. What I did know was that I wasn't defined by their choices anymore. My dad had shown me what real family support looked like, and I was finally free to become whoever I wanted to be. After my dad left, my roommate asked if I was close with my family. With my dad, I said simply. He's always had my back, and that was the truth that mattered most.